Why is it so hard to get your teen to fall asleep, and how much sleep do they need anyway? Well, it turns out they need a lot, like 8 to 10 hours a night. And less than 20% of American teens are actually getting that much. In fact, the numbers may even be worse than that. In Virginia, Fairfax, Virginia, they did a study where only 6% of the 10th graders were actually getting 8 hours of sleep, and with their seniors, only 3%.
It's not enough.
This is an epidemic, and I'm gonna tell you why your teens need more sleep. We're gonna go into the brain science a little bit, and then I'm gonna give you guys strategies on how to get your teens in bed, and maybe you too, because you need the sleep as well. My name is Linda O'Neill, and I run a practice called Good Talk. Basically, I just help teens and parents communicate more efficiently so that they can get out of the teen years alive. I have been helping teens for over 20 years. I know how they think, I know what they're going through, I know how to communicate with them, and I can teach you how to communicate with them too. But today's lesson is all about getting them to bed. We tend to romanticize what we went through when we were in high school. So for example, I worked at McDonald's flipping burgers 25, 30 hours a week and went to school full time. And I did it, so why can't they? And a lot of us are like this dad. Are you like this dad? Check it out.
Homework is hard. When I went to school, I walked 20 miles uphill, both ways, 26 hours a day on one foot.
Be honest, is that you? Yeah, I graduated from high school. I went to college with a crappy GPA and a crappy SAT score, but that's not how it works anymore. I didn't have extracurricular activities. I didn't even have honors or AP classes. You know, it was manageable, but a lot of our kids, it's not that manageable. The expectations are so high. It's so much harder to get into college. And so here's a clip from Modern Family where this young woman is having a really hard time. Take a look and let me know in the comments below if this sounds like your kid.
So, Alex, tell me why you're here.
I had a little meltdown last night, and I'm afraid it'll happen again, but this time in the middle of the SATs or something.
You mind if we try something?
What?
Just do me a favor. Take a deep breath. What's on your mind?
She's like a miniature adult, and we think that she can handle it, but she can't. I taught mostly in a low-income school. I went to a low-income school. I grew up in a poor neighborhood. I didn't realize it was a poor neighborhood until I went to college, to be honest, but hey, those are the facts. The reality of today is that life is a lot more expensive, and a lot of my students had to work in order to keep the lights on at home. So if that is your situation, where you have a teen who is working 20 or more hours a week on a job and trying to take AP classes so that they can get into a good college, if you have to have your teen work, consider having your teen take less AP classes. Colleges are not that impressed with C's regardless if it's an AP class or a regulars class. Now, if your kid doesn't have to work, but you want to teach them the value of the dollar, I would say don't have them work. They're gonna learn that value. The reason why sleep is so important is because they're learning still while they're sleeping. And if they're not getting enough sleep, then they're not retaining what they learn. It's not going in the memory bank. So let's talk about the science of sleep and strategies on how they can get more sleep. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. It tells YouTube that the information you see here is valuable, and I'd like to get it out to as many parents as I can. And also, if you have a strategy that works for you and your kid, something that you guys developed together that created better sleep hygiene, then put it in the comments below. We are creating a community of parents and students and teachers on how we all can get through this stage of their lives better. I'll have a link to every single source that I used. I did the homework so you didn't have to do it, all right? So the reason why sleep is so important, as I said, your kids are still learning at night. You got these neurons, which are brain cells, and the synapses are going constantly. Well, that's happening while they are sleeping. And so what happens at night is that the brain starts to prune certain information.
What is synaptic pruning?
The neurons communicate through synapses. When you are a baby, you have a lot of these synapses. As you develop into adulthood, your brain has to prune away the weaker synapses in order to function efficiently.
I mean, we learn and see and hear and do everything in our brain all day. It collects all of this data. And at night, the brain decides, okay, what am I going to keep and what am I going to lose? It's a very important process where the brain resets itself at night. If you're not getting enough sleep, it's not storing those memories correctly, or it's not storing them at all. So for example, even if your kid studied for 8 hours for their physics exam, if they only got about 3 hours of sleep, a lot of what they studied will not be remembered in the brain because a lot of that memory formation is happening in late sleep. So if it's so important for them to sleep, why are they fighting it so hard? Well, Mother Nature has a cruel trick. Their circadian rhythm gets pushed back 2 hours later. So if you have a little one like a 2-year-old, your circadian rhythm is on target with your 2-year-old, but it is not on target with your teen. So for example, you may be getting sleepy at 8:30 or 9 p.m., but your teen does not get sleepy until 10:30, 11 p.m. at night. If you put your teen to bed at 9 p.m., they're not gonna be sleepy. So here's a couple of other things messing with your teen's sleep: melatonin and electronics. If your kid goes to bed at 10:30, 11 p.m. as you told them to do, and they're on their phone, well, that blue light, it's emitting and it's telling the brain that, hey, it's still daylight. Melatonin is released 30 minutes before your circadian rhythm tells you that, hey, I'm getting sleepy, it's time to go to bed. But if you start looking at the blue light on your electronics, the blue light tells your melatonin in your brain that, oh, we're not sleepy. So they'll get a jolt of, energy if they're on their phone. And so will you. So you put the electronics away too. A lot of parents have a hard time getting their kids up in the morning. Check out this dad right here.
Steven, are you awake? You need to get up.
Can you just get the hell out of here?
No,
your kid's
because
not
this is my
lazy.
house.
This is what's happening. The melatonin is still in your teen's body, and it is really hard for them to get up. That's why they're so groggy. They're not being defiant. They're not being lazy. It's basically a hormone in their brain that says, hey man, it's still sleepy time. So there's a wonderful book out there. It's called The Teenage Brain, written by 2 neuroscientists, Francis Jensen and Amy Nuts. If you want to know more about brain science and how it affects your teens and what's going on, why are they so crazy, read this book, it's great. They did a study in this book, these 2 neuroscientists. There's a direct correlation between lack of sleep and doing stupid stuff. They also found that teens who get 5 hours of sleep less are prone to be more aggressive and have violent acts and violent bursts. There's a whole wealth of problems that happen to teens if they don't get enough sleep. Let's start with aesthetics. That's what they care about, right? So if they are not getting enough sleep, there are higher cases of psoriasis, bad skin like acne, weight gain because you have these food cravings and you're craving the worst types of foods, diabetes, lack of exercise. Kids who do not get enough sleep are more emotional, prone to mood swings, prone to depression, higher suicide rates, more anxiety, more impulsiveness. And as we said, lack of sleep can lead to cognitive problems, poor memorization, poor retention, poor problem-solving skills. And finally, teens who are not getting enough sleep are prone to drink more caffeine and drink more of those energy drinks that are terrible for them. And we know that these drinks are terrible for them. Even if they say they're just drinking one, they're probably lying because studies have shown that some kids are drinking up to 5 cans a day. I have a link to the study that proves why energy drinks are just terrible for your kids. Now that I convinced you that your kid's going to either die or be stupid if they don't get enough sleep, I'm just kidding. They'll be fine. Go ahead, put it in the comments, what is the biggest barrier for you and your teen when it comes to good sleep hygiene? What are you doing that's not allowing you to sleep? So let's talk about 10 strategies on how to get your kid to bed on time for 8 hours of sleep, and maybe you can get some sleep too. Strategy 1, get them to bed by 10, 10:30, or 11. Around between 10 and 11, get them in bed. Strategy number 2, turn off your electronics. And you have to do the same thing too. Don't be that parent that says, do as I say and not as I do, because you're not getting enough sleep either. Turn off your electronics 30 minutes before you go into bed. So if your kid's bedtime is at 11 p.m., make sure that you have their electronics at 10:30. Get their electronics 30 minutes before they crawl into bed. We don't want their phones and their computers on their bed. Put it in a drawer, lock that drawer.
Right to jail.
Like I said, do it for yourself too. Okay, so taking up their electronics is not always possible, especially if they have a major test the following day. Take your electronics, take your iPhones, your iPads, your computers, and put it on a night setting. There's a link on how you can do that, so it's just a step-by-step guide on how you can just turn your electronics to night settings so it's not emitting that blue light that is telling your body that, hey man, it's not nighttime yet, let's stay awake. Strategy number 4, learning is cumulative. As a teacher, I knew that if I gave my students a lesson that they wouldn't remember it the next day just because I taught it. You would have to teach it over and over again. In education, we look down on drill and kill, but you know what? Drill and kill works. So what you need to do is create a lovely little space, a study space where they can put their books, put their computers, and that is the place that they study. They don't study in the bed. The bed is only for sleeping. Make them comfortable, make sure the chair is comfortable, give them some milk and cookies. Do not do their homework for them because you have to let them learn. Strategy number 5, make sure that they're waking up at the same time every day. Strategy number 6, if you're thinking about giving your kid melatonin to help put them to bed, to set their circadian rhythm on time, go to a doctor first. Melatonin is a hormone. It is not a food supplement. It's not regulated by the FDA. In some Western European countries, melatonin requires a prescription. A quick Google search will show you that the proper dosage for an adult is between 1 and 10 milligrams. If your kid is taking 30 milligrams of melatonin, it is too much. And in fact, it can lead to nightmares, which will keep your kids up, which is not what we want. Strategy number 7. A lot of us have a hard time turning off our brains at night, including myself. So what you can do, instead of just counting 1, 2, 3, counting sheep, you might want to make it a little bit more complicated because counting 1, 2, 3 is so easy that your brain starts to wander and you find yourself overthinking again. So count in 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Strategy number 8. If your teen did not get enough sleep, do not freak out. Everything will be okay. For example, in that book that I referenced earlier, The Teenage Brain, they did a study where a group of kids had to take a major exam the following night. They didn't get any sleep. They had one group take a nature walk before the exam and another group take a urban city walk. The kids who took a nice nature walk did a lot better because the environment was quieter, nicer, they weren't thinking as much, their brains weren't busy, unlike those who were doing the city walk where they have to pay attention to traffic, noise, all of that stuff. So take brain breaks because even though they didn't get enough sleep, or even if you didn't get enough sleep, brain breaks will help you function more efficiently. Number 9, use a sleep tracking device like Sleep Score. And it might be fun for you and your teen to get together and compare each other's sleep score so that you guys can come up with a better plan on how to get better sleep. Strategy number 10. I know teens are frustrating. I've been around them for a very long time. Do not argue right before you go to bed. Save it for the morning or the next day, get some clarity, because if you guys get into a huge argument right before bed, your teen's not going to get any sleep, and neither will you. I know I said 10, but here's the last one. I live in Austin, Texas, and our high school start at 9 a.m. because in some cities, high school start at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. That's too early. Studies have shown that schools who set their clocks back, kids did significantly better. They had better SAT scores, they had better standardized test scores, they had better GPAs. So if you are living in a district where start times are way too early, call your board members, call your principal, call somebody, and do your best to advocate for a later start time. I hope you found this information helpful. I have a couple of downloads for you. One download is just the top 10 strategies that you can put on your mirror, and you guys can just remind yourself, okay, this is what I need to do in order to get my 8 to 10 hours. And I've also come up with kind of like a worksheet that you can do with your kids so that you guys can develop better sleep time together. My practice is Good Talk. I work with parents and teens. If you need somebody to talk to, if you want better strategies on how to talk to your teen more effectively without the arguing, call me. I'll give you a consultation. I do private sessions in Austin, Texas, but I love doing virtual Zoom conferences, or if your teen is lacking motivation and you want somebody to help them with that, I also do that as well. I'm here to help. I hope you have a great day. And don't forget to subscribe and like and share. All right, bye-bye.